Bernie Sanders says U.S. should confiscate 100% of any money Americans make above $999 million. They can survive just fine. What do you think? So maybe someone can try to explain this a bit. Would this apply to the value of the company's stock? Because to my knowledge most of the people in this category don't actually take home $1 billion plus in cash into their checking. Confiscate is certainly a choice of words. The entire tax system needs to be revamped. The middle class pays more of a burden than the billionaires do. It's ridiculous. Of course, that is just a political slogan by Bernie, and it is not the practical implementation of the idea. But they do need to apply taxes to the giant global megacorporations in an effective way. We know from the Panama Papers how extremely common it is for any wealthy people to hide their money from income taxes, and you don't have to be super rich to do this. So the solution needs to be on how the very wealthy interact with society in the USA, with taxes on land, with a generous lower limit exemption, and on consumption. Taxes on your second yacht should be pretty high. And hey, as a fun idea, how about if the super wealthy contributes a huge amount to politics, or super PAC, then they have to match it with a tax payment. If they take a SCOTUS justice on lavish million-dollar vacations, they match that with a tax payment, etc. They twist the words, taxed at 100%, from a quote that he didn't actually say. Simply put, this is false information. Are you essentially arguing that the government should seize the remaining funds until you reach $999 million? Matthews turned to the independent U.S. Senator from Vermont who also caucuses with Democrats and helped them win a narrow majority in the upper house of Congress. Yes, Sanders affirmed. You may disagree with me, but that's okay. I believe people can survive on $999 million. They can survive perfectly fine, in my opinion. He hasn't even called for or proposed a tax. He's merely responding with a shrug to the interviewer's ridiculous assertion. Almost no one on the planet reports having $1 billion annual income. This is all contained in multiple assets. Bernie merely shrugged off a crude and perhaps laden remark, and now everyone is working up a fuss about how Bernie wants a 100% tax. He hasn't actually said that. His policy perspective, or the viewpoint he expresses in that interview, is a return to tax rates as they were under Eisenhower. Which is entirely logical. Why is a Chris Wallace quote being attributed to Bernie Sanders? Fuck man. He didn't say that. He gave an interview and responded vaguely to a question about billionaires. I'm so tired of having to tell people to read the actual interview. Come on y'all, we know better than this by now. Billionaires will just find loopholes to not be a billionaire. I don't imagine the policy would ever have a chance to be exercised for many years. Billionaires don't have yearly salaries of $1 billion that the government can just take via income tax. They own assets that hold over $1 billion of value altogether. This is misinformation. I'll never understand why someone's 1 in 100 million chance of becoming a billionaire is more important to them than a guarantee of a basic social structure that helps everyone get a more fair shot. Does anyone actually make that much? Or their stocks and options are worth that much? I think the average Redditor has absolutely no idea that there is a difference between income and wealth, and that forcing someone to liquidate their wealth is completely impractical and moronic. I'd say that's not far enough. I would say anything above 100 million gets put through an annual wealth tax. Income is straightforward. For income, however, I think we implement this the way I think the Danish used to do ship taxes. The wealthy report the value of each of their assets to the government and pay taxes on the reported amount. The caveat is that the government is allowed to unilaterally decide to buy the asset for whatever price the person listed if it so chooses. This way, if they try to skimp on their taxes, they get screwed, and if their oh-so-valuable mega yacht is worth keeping, they'll report a high figure. This tax would apply in a progressive curve reaching its zenith at 100 million, No one needs more than that to survive. I think Bernie is pandering to people with absolutely no clue how the tax system works, or how the wealthy actually structure their wealth. I think he's pandering to people's emotions, specifically people ignorant of actual wealth accrual strategies. Allow me to explain. Most people don't make that much. It's true, they don't. Even people worth $1 billion or more don't have the cash to pay. They don't actually have money above that amount. They have assets. And those assets are often in unrealized gains . Usually this is in stock, but can also be in bonds, securities, properties, or other valuables like art, historical artifacts, gold. You cannot tax unrealized gains without absolutely destroying the economy. And if you want to tax unrealized gains, then are you also going to let people write off unrealized losses? Is reform needed? Yes. But this isn't it. The number one reform I think that is needed is the way the mega wealthy avoid having income. They have $1 million in stock. They take out a loan for $250,000, using the $1 million in stock as collateral to secure a stupid low interest rate. As the stock appreciates, they can re-leverage the new value for more loan. In this way they never actually have income . They are living and spending borrowed money, which is not income, and they are never cashing out and realizing their gains, so it's not subject to capital gains tax. I know a good way to solve this would be to say anytime an asset is leveraged to secure a loan, you owe capital gains tax equal to the value you leveraged. If you leverage $459,750 of stock, you owe $68,962.5 in capital gains tax. However, there should be a floor, because this would also include HELOCs that people use to fix their homes. So someone with more market data than I could suggest say, greater than any assets over $X in value which are leveraged within Y years, are subject to capital gains tax. This would allow for people to use HELOCs without penalty, while the uber wealthy would not be able to exploit the, technically not income, loophole. As an example, if it was $300,000 over 3 years, then you could leverage up to $300,000 within a rolling 3-year period and not have to pay. You could leverage $100,000 a year in perpetuity, or you could leverage $300,000 every 3 years, but any amount over that is subject to capital gains tax. And again, these numbers are out of my ass because I am simply demonstrating a concept, not writing a law. Maybe it's too high, maybe too low, I don't know. I don't dislike Bernie, but this is a pointless statement. No one is making over $1 billion in salary, it's all about equity at that point. And, no, the government can't take that instead. The takings clause in the Fifth Amendment makes that pretty clear. The correct answer is organized labor to make sure we get our fair share and to increase capital gains tax on property over a certain value. I'll add that there should be a carve-out for a lower tax rate if the property is your primary residence, so we don't further screw what's left of the middle class. How would it be accomplished? Billionaires don't have massive incomes. They're billionaires because the companies they own part of, shares, are worth a lot of money. How do you confiscate the shares of a company? Force them to give the stock in their companies to the U.S. federal government for eventual sale and distribution? Congratulations, you just caused a massive stock market crash. Example: to confiscate $200+ billion in assets from Elon Musk, you confiscate entire companies like Twitter and SpaceX, a controlling share of Tesla, and several other companies. You what? Sell it off to the highest bidder? Who can buy it? There are no other billionaires or companies that can do it at its current value, so it's sold at fire sale prices. Now who is going to run it? Well, they do, sort of. The problem is there are so many loopholes that they don't have to pay it, so it doesn't matter. I think there's a bigger problem than taxing the rich. The problem is megacorporations with too much power. As soon as you use your stock as collateral, it should become taxable. Why not confiscate 100% of any money Americans make above $1 million? They can still survive just fine. Why not anything above $200,000? Why is the government entitled to 100% of the income other people earn? I've always been torn on this subject. I don't think anyone should be limited to how much money they can make. I'd be pissed if I worked hard all my life creating something only to be told that I can't have that which I've worked for. On the other hand, I can't fathom what one person needs billions of dollars for. I think the best solution is closing tax loopholes. When people say, rich don't pay their share, it's kind of a misnomer, as a lot of rich people pay more in taxes than I make in a year. But there are so many sneaky ways to get around paying taxes on their wealth. Show me one person who has more than $999 million in cash and I'll agree. This is doublespeak. Sounds nice but not worth anything. Ignoring the specific wording that OP has editorially chosen in their post title. Fundamentally, the reason that I would agree with Bernie's sentiment is that it seems clear-cut that owning so much wealth is intrinsically immoral. It is not possible to either truly earn that much wealth, nor to be justified in continuously hoarding it given the basic needs of millions of people nationally are not being met. There is no good reason that any one person should possess that much wealth. The mechanisms by which such an ideal could be enforced are for lawmakers to decide. Fundamentally, society should not accept the existence of billionaires. No, he's too kind. Drop it to 100M. And make it more broad than income. Plenty of billionaires take no technical salary and just let their net worth increase by way of their shares, bonds, index funds, and other portfolios. Call that 100M an absolute maximum net worth. I'm starting to think people on the left just genuinely have no idea what this type of wealth actually is. Like, when these people hear that Bezos is worth $126 billion, do they think he just has all that money stashed away in cash somewhere, a big room of money that he jumps into Scrooge McDuck style or something? That's not how anything works. That net worth number is made up mostly of all the assets that belonging to his company. The delivery trucks, the sorting warehouses, etc. This is not money being hoarded, it's all tied up in the machinery that keeps services we all use running. The 126 bill is not really a measure of personal wealth as much as it's a metric of value he has created through his management, value that continues to be used by everyone. Many of these guys actually have very little uninvested personal wealth. Musk didn't even own a home for a long time. It's just numbers on paper. There is not really any way to confiscate it short of seizing and liquidating the assets that keep these companies going, which would be super short-sighted. There is no added utility at this range of assets. No one person should have that much power and there is no need for it. I don't care who it is, they are not special, and they do not have anything that cannot be found in 1 million others. I would lower it to 100 mil.
I think that the censor vive just fine without that extra money.